call our regular meeting to order. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And before we begin, I want to take a minute to, as the Board of Trustees, to send our condolences to the Herring family, specifically Marnie and Bodie and Brenna, and our families in Southeast and Trail for the loss of Crockett. Just very saddened by that event, and thoughts and prayers go out to them. Do we have any adjustments to the agenda?
Yes, we have a number of addendum items. Under E, recommended actions. Number 2, new business. H, consider acceptance of certified staff retirement agreement. Accept the retirement agreement submitted by Torrington High School art teacher Steve Law, effective at the end of the 2021 school year. Letter I, consider approval of offering a teacher contract for the 21-22 school year. Approve offering a teaching contract to Mary Salem as a special education teacher at Torrington High School for the 21-22 school year. Letter J, consider request to rescind the teacher resignation. Approve the request from Heather Milligan to rescind her resignation as Torrington Middle School teacher at the end of the 2021 school year. Letter K, consider approval of offering a 1-year only teaching contract for the 21-22 school year. Approve offering a 1-year only teaching contract to Heather Milligan as a academic interventionist at Torrington Middle School for the 21-22 school year. And L, consider approval of granting a right-of-way easement to Wairulek Company at Southeast Schools. And approve granting a request to Wairulek Company for right-of-way easement. M, consider approval of an extension to current special education contract with Banner Health for occupational therapy services. Approve a 1-month extension to the current special education contract with Banner Health for occupational services. Letter N, consider approval of contracting with Brooke Carson LLC for autism and behavior consulting services for the 21-22 school year. Approve contracting with Brooke Carson LLC for autism and behavior consulting services, not to exceed $40,000 from July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer. Are there any other adjustments? Hearing none, can I have a motion to adopt the agenda with those adjustments?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Patrick. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Bullington. All those in favor of accepting the agenda with those adjustments, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? The agenda is adopted. Item C, information and proposals. There are none. We'll move on to item D, public forum. Just a reminder, there is a 5-minute time limit. We'll try something new. When you have a minute left, I'll just hold up your yellow sheet here. And then when we get to 5 minutes, I'll just try to gently say time. Please try to wrap up at that point. Legal restrictions limit the amount of board comment and interaction during this portion of the meeting. And if you haven't already, please complete one of the yellow forms located at the door and hand it to Ms. Fritzler. First one I have is Mr. Mark Bullington.
Okay, I'd like to thank the board members, administration, parents, and students. I would like to address the consolidation of the wrestling program. I know I was not at the last meeting, but nice thing about Zoom, you can review that, and just like I was there. So I've handed you an article from the NAAA magazine, which is the Athletic Directors National magazine that I get all the time. And it just talks about how to define success in the high school sports programs. And the author is Dr. Mark Reddick which is the Director of Athletics at Grand Forks, North Dakota. You know, Grand Forks is about population of about 56,000 people. They have 5 public schools, and they are approximately serve 26,000 students. So they're a little bigger than we are. So they talk about their goals, 3 simple goals that they have for their athletic programs. First one is have fun. Second one is learn something about how to compete, win or lose. And the third one is learn more about the sport they're involved with. And so if you look at that survey towards the bottom of the first page and the top of the second page, they show some of the results of the survey about how kids were basically involved in sports and how successful was the program. And like he said, win or lose is not all about high school sports. I know we have a lot of kids that think they're D1 athletes, but I haven't seen a lot going out of Torrington, Southeast, and Lingle. We have one at Wyoming. I think that's one of the first one we've had. And it said, in the survey, it said during this period of time, the winning percentages for those schools were at 0.11%. So it didn't change their attitude about the sports, okay? The focus of the program is providing our students usable strategies for life beyond high school athletics. And that brings me to the discussion that we had a couple of weeks ago, okay? I think we lose sight of some things in high school sports. And I've been through the 0-8 seasons, and I've been through the 11-0 seasons. I think I learned more from the character of my 0-8 kids than I ever did from the 11-0 teams. It just happens that this year, our football team was both of those within about 3 years. And that says volumes for our kids, okay? I'm going to address some of the comments that had last meeting. I agree with Mr. Williams and Mr. Lashley that research shows that participation equals success. And you can look at our missing assignments list, and I guarantee you'll see a direct correlation with participation, okay? Mr. Plendle spoke the other day, and I can agree with one thing, or 2 things, that Torrington High School welcomes Southeast and Lingo Fort Laramie students, and the ADs cooperate. The other ones I have a problem with. I agree that with Coach Bremer that we have not combined other programs. Coach Plendle said we had combined other programs. Golf, tennis, cross country, indoor track, and soccer. We never had those sports in Southeast and Lingo Fort Laramie. We never lost a sport, okay? So there's never been, Coach Plendle said, or Mr. Plendle said that there was concern about our students competing at the 3A level, okay? Mr. Plendle, our kids have never shied away from competition. My mentor, the Bear, if anybody remembers back that far, told me that you measure an athlete by the opposition it takes to discourage him or her, okay? Our kids compete against the larger schools all the time. We wrestle 4A schools. A few years ago, we scrimmaged Cheyenne East and Cheyenne Central. Cheyenne Central would scrimmage their varsity. Cheyenne East they wouldn't let us scrimmage their varsity because they thought we would beat them. And so we're not afraid of competition. Kids getting along is not an issue, like Mr. Plendle said it was. And when he spoke about combining football and track, I agreed with Doug Bremer that what is the next step that we're going to take here? Is there a threat of losing our programs, our school identity? Speaking of my school identity, Mr. Myers spoke about calling it Goshen County Wrestling. I don't remember the golf team or the tennis team or the indoor track team being called Goshen County. I always thought it was Torrington. Okay, and I agree with Doug. And another thing, we can't confuse opportunity with success. There's no guarantee that this will happen. Torrington has wrestlers and coaches. They have the opportunity to be successful. Cody Grant spoke about creating a competitive team of 30 or more in the room. According to Mr. Christensen, we need to combine programs because of budgets. Well, 30 plus kids in the room is not saving money. Mr. Plendle stated that we should have a freshman team, we should have a JV team and a varsity team. Well, if you have a freshman team and a JV team and a varsity team, and they're going 3 different directions, you're going to need 6 coaches. So that's not going to save you a whole lot of money. Okay. Mr. Myers also said that, we got a minute? Okay. Okay, it's about the kids. It's just about the kids and doing what's best for Goshen County Wrestling. I'll address the elephant in the room. This is about revitalizing the Torrington Wrestling Program at the cost of Southeast and Lingle. Okay, Burns Pine Plus combined a few years ago because Pine Bluffs didn't have a wrestling room or a coach. We don't have that. Okay. I talked to their AD, their average attendance for kids between Pine Bluffs and Burns, they get 2 to 3 kids from Pine, and at the most they've got 6. Okay. And Mr. Christensen talked about funding programs and needing a championship team. I don't think we should sacrifice 2 programs for the good of 1. Okay. Before you look at those programs, we have alternate funding. I know the banks have to donate through the Community Reinvestment Act. That's a federal law. So I know why banks do a lot. I agree that the Torrington High School program has a problem with numbers in the wrestling program. I think that's an internal problem, not a Southeast and Lingle problem. Southeast and Lingle ADM combined is 146. Torrington's is 344. I think they need to fix their program before they go with ours. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Marie Flanagan?
Good evening. Not the first time that I've been here, but welcome. My name is Marie Flanagan. I'm here to talk about leadership. And from what Mr. Bullington said, he has a lot of great points, a lot of great visions. I originally wanted to come up here and talk about a situation that happened at Goshen County High School. That's not what I meant. Torrington High School. I did contact 3 board members, 2 of which contacted me back. One, I think it was a email issue. No big deal. I'm trying to venture more. We have a situation to where leadership can either make you or break you. You guys are as parents, you're our last resort if we can't get anything accomplished. Unfortunately, it's been a struggle as a parent. You know this. I've talked to you guys so many times. Problem is, nothing's been done. Nothing. And I may not see that from your vantage point. Something may have been done. But from my vantage point, not one thing has been portrayed to me. Investigations have gone unanswered. And investigations that deal with administrators and female students in boys' bathrooms. I'm sorry, but any parent in here, any of you, that is not acceptable. And that's got to stop. An investigation was supposed to happen. This happened back in February. I have not heard one word, not one. My child was in a bathroom, a boys' bathroom, along with 2 other female students. Another female student was taken to a bathroom by themselves with an administrator. Not acceptable. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the situation is. Doesn't matter. Do we look at this as an administrator can just do what they want and nobody will say anything? Probably, maybe. Because we did have a staff member come to the area, to the bathroom, and find out why the girls were screaming. Not okay. I don't know if you guys heard about it, but if you didn't, I would highly suggest you find out. This all goes to leadership, you guys. I am one person. How many times do I have to sit here and listen to so many parents say, I've tried this, I've tried this, I've tried this, I can't get anywhere. I am so proud of our senior class of 2021 from Torrington. Not because, my kid is in the graduating class, but because of what they did before graduation, what they fought for on their own. Sometimes we can learn from our kids. We've got to put ourselves out of it. Our kids are so smart. Was it last year? When we discussed certain situations that happened and we all mourned the loss of a student. The kids that came in here to speak to you guys, and for some of you, you don't know that, but it took all they had to speak to you and they were shot down. And then promises that we're told were not upheld. Is that what we're about? Is that who we are as leaders? Is that who we are as Goshen County? Not one student would ever come back to this school that graduated. I talked to several, and those others have talked to me. Thank you. Please understand, leadership comes from you. It comes from the top. It doesn't matter what side you stand on. Please just come together. Please go into our schools. Please talk to our kids. And you know what? I'm going to tell you, there's two things I want to make sure. We need a third-party program or situation that staff, students, and parents can all anonymously either be surveyed or whatever, but a third party. Having a an administrator do it is very biased, and a lot of people will not answer those honestly. Okay, I will finish with this. And we need to reduce the conflict of interest. We have a huge issue of conflict of interest. So I beg you, please go into the schools. Now we can't, but please, I beg you, talk to our staff, talk to our students, talk to the kids that just graduated, get their perspective, please. I have to say, I really admire Southeast and Lingle. They have done a great job. We're struggling, guys, and it's showing. And I don't want Goshen County to be looked at the way it is right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Stephanie Fisher.
Hello, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Stephanie Fisher. I am a licensed therapist in Goshen County. I run Fisher Family Solutions. We just opened an outpatient therapeutic ranch in Lingle that we're really excited about. But I'm really here to talk to you guys about mental health in Goshen County. So it's changing in the entire world. It's changing in the United States. It's changing in Goshen County. We're seeing a lot of that. The students that you guys work with, I work with every single day. The parents that you guys work with, I work with every single day, and some of the staff as well. We have a huge issue coming upon us, and it's only going to get worse before it gets better. And so what I want to do is I want to offer you guys some help and some assistance. I know that a lot of times when it comes to making decisions as a whole, you guys are asked to know the information. You're asked to be responsible for making a good, informed decision. But that is very hard to do when you don't have all the pieces of that information. And so I want to offer you guys the opportunity to gain additional information. One of those ways that I am hoping to do that is I have asked Jeremy to be here. He will be the person you hear from next. He is from Gracie from Two Brothers Foundation. They're a suicide awareness program, and they work specifically on training. So he has graciously agreed to do a 2-day suicide awareness training for us in Goshen County. It's completely free. I talked to Trina, I believe, the other day, and she's going to try to get it out to all the staff. Unfortunately, it's not during the school year. Hopefully we can maybe do another one during the school year to catch those that we weren't able to catch, but it's a great opportunity. It's 2 days worth of training. It helps you learn all about how do you recognize suicide? How do you get somebody help? How do you make a crisis intervention plan for them? How do you talk to them? How do you talk to others around them to help them feel safe and secure and able to discuss their feelings? And the mental health is bigger than suicide awareness, but we had to have one place to start, and this is one place to start. So I invite any of you that want to come to please come. It's June 29th and 30th. It will be located out at our new outpatient therapeutic ranch in Lingle. That address is 8295 US Highway 85. But it's important that we start to get as much information as possible. I have worked for the Department of Health in Wyoming. I have traveled all over the United States. I have a lot of great people that I've worked with. So what I'm asking in the future is that you guys use me as a resource. If you want additional information for anything mental health, I am happy to reach out to any of those partners that I have and get some of that information. I am happy to set up trainings with different organizations to come in and be able to give additional training, to give you guys different research paperwork, to give you whatever it is you need to help you make informed decisions in whatever decision that comes before you, that you have to make it. Because I have a feeling in Goshen County, there's going to be more and more. The more that mental health creeps up, the more decisions you guys are going to have to make, and they're not easy decisions. And I think that is all I have for you guys. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, and next on our list is Mr. Jeremy, I'm sorry, I can't read.
Bay, B-A-Y.
Bay.
Yes.
Thank you. Apologize for that.
I apologize for my bad handwriting. The school system failed me. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jeremy Bay. I'm the executive director for Grace for True Brothers in Cheyenne, Wyoming. We're a nonprofit dedicated to suicide awareness and education throughout the state of Wyoming. So just real quick, some quick credibility notes. Born and raised in Wyoming, 21-year Navy veteran. Ran the Army National Guard, suicide prevention and substance abuse prevention programs for about 2 years, and now I'm running this nonprofit. So, one of my responsibilities is to shift the culture surrounding suicide in Wyoming. And when Stephanie filled me in on kind of what happened at the high school, I feel like I failed you guys because I didn't give you the information you needed. So I'd like to just quickly go over a few peer-reviewed articles that talk about suicide and particularly talking about suicide. And I'm happy to leave these behind. I'm happy to email them to everybody to read at their leisure. So evidence-based research conducted using samples of both adolescents and adults, and in general, at-risk populations, none statistically significant increase in suicidal ideations in participants as a result of being asked about their suicidal thoughts. In fact, the evidence of this review suggests that in both adolescent and adult populations, acknowledging and talking about suicide may in fact reduce rather than increase suicidal ideation, with a suggestion that repeat questioning may benefit long-term mental health. So keeping this silent is not the way to go about this. I understand that Goshen County is a very small, tight-knit community, but the more we talk about it, the safer our community is going to become. Differential suicide risk factors in rural, middle and high school age students. This article is of particular interest because it was written at the University of Wyoming and supervised by Dr. Carolyn Pepper, who is a doctor of suicidology. As it relates to this research, the results from the sample indicated differential factors associated with risk for suicidal ideation attempts among rural and high school students, highlighting the importance of examining unique suicide risk factors within early adolescence. Younger age predicted suicide attempts in high school, but not in middle school samples. This is consistent with prior research with high school students and suggests that for middle school students, suicidal ideations and attempts occur at similar rates across grade levels. From a developmental perspective, this may reflect problem-solving deficits associated with developing prefrontal cortex, paired with increased environmental stress associated with navigating increasingly important peer relations in early adolescence. Conversely, by the time students reach late high school, they may have learned more to adaptive ways to manage aversive emotional stress. And then lastly, I'd like to discuss just real briefly the benefits of a school-based gatekeeper training program. Essentially, in the interest of time, here we go. Research surrounding the inclusion of school-based gatekeeper training programs suggests that school-based gatekeeper training is effective in improving participants' knowledge, skills, self-efficacy, and likelihood to intervene, while mixed evidence exists in changing participants' attitudes and gatekeeper behaviors surrounding suicide. So I'd like to offer myself up as a resource as you move forward making decisions. We offer multiple trainings, ranging from assist, applied suicide intervention skills training, question, persuade, refer, and mental health first aid. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, Mr. Bay, would you mind sharing those articles, just emailing them to maybe the superintendent for distribution? I'd just be interested in reading them. Thank you.
Mr. Antonio Cabrera? Are you? Okay. That is all we have for public forum. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. Moving on to item E, the consent agenda. Is there any item that a trustee wishes to remove from the consent agenda? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? So moved. Thank you, Mr. Saucedo. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Schmick. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. New business. Item A, consider and discuss possible high school wrestling team combinations agreement. There is no recommendation because there's so many options, and I guess my opinion was that there was not really a time crunch to make this decision. So my recommendation is that we table this discussion to get more information, but I will entertain a motion of any sort.
I'll make a motion to table the topic.
It's been
Tell it further
moved.
date.
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
I'll just tell a further date.
Okay. It's been moved to table the discussion until a future date. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hager. So discussion. Why I suggested that was just because we do have so many options on the table, and I felt like having one recommendation might limit the discussion of the potential possibilities. So we can have those discussions now as well. And also if we do decide to table this, we can also seek further public input.
So what are the options? I only thought there were two.
Right, yeah. So
Combining Southeast and Lingle, or combining all three?
correct.
Are there other options?
You know, if there is a desire to leave all three as separate, that is also an option. I think that's the least because of the comments that we did receive. Like I said, I just didn't want to, I wanted to be able to have a more freer conversation.
As far as a time frame, when do we need to have this decided by?
Mr. Kramer.
In best case scenario, I would say the next regular board meeting. I mean, latest could be the regular board meeting in August, if need be. But that would be my recommendation in regards to timeframe.
Related to the time frame, if the decision was made to eventually combine the three programs, that decision would not be impacting the 2021-2022 school year, correct? Because that schedule's been set, or would it impact that school year?
It could. If it was moved to combine all three, then that could occur in that same year.
Do I need to change my motion to make it the next meeting, or can we just add that as an agenda item next meeting?
We can add it to the agenda at the next meeting.
I guess I would like to know, because to me, the problem is starting before these kids get to high school. I mean, you've made up your mind by the time you get to high school whether you're going to wrestle. I'd like to see what the little kids programs and the middle kids programs look like number wise going up to that.
And that was going to be my question, if anybody has information as to what I know that it seems like the junior wrestling program is pretty robust from what I see on Facebook. I have daughters, so I'm not in the know. So if anybody has that information that would help to Mr. Cushman's point, we would appreciate that.
I don't have any exact numbers, but just the nature of the sport, there are more little kids that start wrestling and they kind of fade out over time. One thing I would add is our youth program in our county, there's only one, so everybody in the county does wrestle together. Lingle, Southeast, Torrington, wherever you live. They wrestle in one room. It's in the middle school. They all drive to Torrington for practice. They all travel to most tournaments together. So just one, by the time they do get to high school, 90% of them have already wrestled together most of their career.
Sure, I can access that information from both the youth program and the middle school, and then I can send that out via email to the trustees, so they'd have access to that information.
Sure.
I think my biggest concern just lies in if we combine all three of them, we are taking opportunities away from kids in Southeast and Lingle. And I don't see that as a positive move. Our focus here should be how to increase opportunities, not decrease opportunities.
Not to get into a super lengthy discussion, but I think a big thing that we're missing is we're focusing on if you go to school in Lingle, you go to school in Torrington, or you go to school in Southeast. That's is the main focus around the discussion on combining these teams, and we're not focused on the actual students. We're looking at where they go to school first and putting the student athletes second or third.
I think from my perspective, just listening to the public forum that was held a few weeks ago, our administrators and parents, it appears that coaches and administrators, now granted, I can see some of you are parents in the audience, right, and maybe intended to speak, but the parents or coaches and administrators have one view and parents had a differing view for the majority. And that's the piece that's confusing to me, is why teachers, coaches, administrators feel very strongly to keep the program together. But when I speak to those who actually wrestle, I've got the other, and that's the opinion that was displayed at that public forum. So I don't know, I'm not spoken to all of you. I can see on faces, right, that maybe that's not the opinion of some of you in the group today, but that is the piece where I'd like to have more clarity and understand what that looks like. Because it did appear that there was a divide in that. at the public forum for me. Somebody who really, I don't have a child who wrestles, just trying to listen and make the best decision for kids. I would like to understand what that looks like and the meaning there.
Well, and I do agree with Mr. Hager that the athletes come first, and Southeast and Lingle have the opportunity to allow kids that are less athletic or less motivated or less that are timid. They have the opportunity to participate, and they would not participate, I believe, if we bring all three of them together. I see we have a student representative that is agreeing with that.
Yeah, I think with the different environment, being in a dogger or a cyclone is a different environment than being combined in the Torrington, and you lose the people that wouldn't come out when you're in the big school, that do come out when they're just with their friends and the coaches that they know real well. And that takes away people that just want a sport. And I know that when I'm in indoor track, it's a different feeling being with Torrington than it is with being with Lingle. I don't feel as, it's not quite the same feeling, just being a dogger.
That's where I agree on most of that. Like I said before, I think a big problem, me personally, with the whole discussion is that whatever side you're on, everybody focuses on, they focus on coming to Torrington, or I live in Lingle, or I live in Southeast. I'm for, we should focus on all being together as one, not saying we're wrestling for Torrington now, or it should be we're wrestling as a whole, as a team, not defining us by where we go to school or looking down on it saying we have to come to Torrington. We can say we're wrestling, as a Goshen County team. It shouldn't be called Torrington Wrestling if we do combine.
I think another issue that bothered me at the last meeting was the fact that people spoke that doing the combination with three would lead towards championship teams. I would say you talk to coaches that have been here forever, Mr. Lashley, Mr. Bullington, and a championship team is always a goal of any coach. They wouldn't be doing it if it was not. But building those relationships with those kids is more important to them than building a championship team. Building a quality program is a higher goal of theirs. And you do get that in the smaller schools because the kids see the coaches on a daily basis. They have classes with them. They're just there to support them and be there. My husband, when we do make this vote, I will not be abstaining. My husband is not going to be coaching next year. The parents know that, the kids know that. Mr. Williams knows that, Mr. Kramer knows that. And so I will be voting, I will not be abstaining. And I would not vote to combine all three.
Well, for me, there's one question that got brought up at the last meeting that I guess I would like more clarity on is, the short-term versus the long-term. If, however we combine it, at what point would there be, do the people involved feel like there would be an opportunity then to maybe go back to the way it was? Because I think we can all agree that sports are part of our school and our community's identity. And so whatever we do to help celebrate that and have that as part of our communities, is there an opportunity and are there measurements that we can have that tell us when we can you know, if we have such outstanding participation, that maybe it makes more sense to go back to 2 teams. I guess I would just like, if there's more clarity on that, that would help me make a decision.
And just for clarification, so we don't get calls 10 times a day, he's resigning from wrestling. That's it.
You know, it's unfortunate that we have to have this conversation. But, you know, I agree with some of what Mr. Hager or Member Hager has said in that, you know, we have to separate the emotion from the facts. And it's not about we're doing away or we're doing away with opportunities because of the fact that one program is less successful than the other. We're dealing with the reality of a budget. And unfortunately, the thing is we have to come to the decision of allowing as much opportunity for our kids, not doing away with, we're trying to allow more opportunities for our kids in the circumstance that we find ourselves. And we have to look at this in a way that, of course, it's going to have some emotion, but we have to look at this in a way that is factual. And, you know, there was a comment that was made, you know, during the public forum that, you know, student athletes would not wrestle for a particular school, team, coach, however it is. And at the same time, they were wanting their student athlete to move to the different level. And I was a little troubled by that, because if we're looking at continuing the opportunity to allow the student to move and still have the opportunity to wrestle, and they can't make that transition from one coach to another, how can it be looked at that they're going to go to the next level with a coach that that you wouldn't know at all? So, you know, the fact is this is going to be a hard decision to make. It really, truly is. The only thing that I want, you know, I hope that we all can come agreeing upon is that the decision isn't going to be made out of feelings or out of, you know, anything else other than what we have to do for our students and families and what's best for the district. Because that's the way it needs to be looked at, because we are in a very precarious situation.
One little thing I would like to add, these are real rough numbers, but Lingle and Southeast, roughly 10 kids apiece on their team, a few more maybe. Torrington, about the same. So it's just, I think when we can't, like Mr. Sacedo said, I think we need to consider all the facts, and if we just based it solely on numbers, you know, why would we only consider letting Lingle and Southeast join just based on numbers? I think we need to come up with a list of criteria on why we're considering this decision and what triggers it, and make that list without the names of the school in front of it.
So the question is if I can just ask you clarification, what is it that we're looking for? What information, data are we looking for us to be prepared to have this conversation next month?
I think obviously there's some, you know, the budget numbers or the expenses associated with it, what that looks like. I guess in both ways. And I did ask Ms. Cates to kind of give a rough estimate of what we were looking at from a cost saving standpoint. So Ms. Cates, I don't have that in front of me. You have that.
I put together actually several different scenarios. And I was just looking at salary dollars associated with the coaches. Presently, we're expending $49,050 on 6 coaches for all 3 programs. If Lingo and Southeast were to combine into one program, presently you have 4 coaches, 2 heads, 2 assistants that could go to 1 head, 1 assistant. We would have a cost savings of $16,350. The second scenario I looked at was combining Lingo, Southeast, and Torrington into one program. And with that, I looked at those 3 schools coming together and having 1 head and 1 assistant coach. In that scenario, there would be a cost savings of $32,700. I also looked at 1 head coach and 2 assistant coaches. In that scenario, there'd be a cost savings of $26,105. So I'm open to looking at other options, but I was looking at the scenario of combining and kind of a template, if you will, of 1 head and 1 assistant. I also looked at 1 head and 2 assistants.
Just from the experience in that, even if it was roughly upper 20s in the numbers, it would definitely need 3 people. Possibly even somebody else 4 to come and help, even if it was volunteer type, just in the practice room. Because what would happen is, I would assume the numbers would grow. It's just the nature of it. If in the future, if we ended up with 30 or even say closer to 40 kids in the program, the best thing to do you all wouldn't travel necessarily to the same tournaments every week. They'd probably make a JV team, and once in a while the JV teams might schedule to go somewhere else. So it would be difficult with only having 3 coaches if the numbers go high.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Ms. Cates.
I think it's important to notate that the calculations I did are based upon an extra duty ratio of 12 athletes to 1 coach. And that's based upon what our extra duty schedule reads. With that, there's also caveats that we look at how many programs or how many levels are being filled. So freshman JV varsity, that could warrant additional, but that 12 to 1 is kind of the benchmark district-wide.
Is transportation cost remind me, I apologize, you just went over our budget training, but transportation for athletics, is it fully reimbursable as of today?
As of today, it is.
Other information that, again, this is another reason why I think tabling it's a good idea, so we can digest some of this and not make a rush decision. I think it's important that we consider this carefully.
I'd like to call the question.
Question has been called. The motion on the table is to table the wrestling discussion until the next meeting. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Or we've already done that. No, wait. those,
To find the next meeting, we have a special meeting.
next regular meeting. And my understanding too, I'm sorry, is that moving it to the July meeting is not going to affect our budget discussions. Okay, all right. So, already asked for those who approve. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Are there any abstentions? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, could I beg a point of order, please?
Yes.
And I apologize for not catching this much sooner, but I believe our student representative reports are not on our agenda.
That is correct. I apologize for that as well.
Lori was able to contact them and let them know that they were not required to provide a report for this meeting. She left them off the hook. And I wholeheartedly agree.
And then I asked them to do something. We can, Ms. Patrick, that question that we posed to them, would that still be appropriate for the next regular meeting?
Usually we don't ask them to attend July, so it would be August. I don't know. Maybe we should ask their preference. You got a lot of mixed messages, didn't you?
I blame the guy in charge. Poor leadership. If they have something prepared, we can have them speak under item F, topics for discussion.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Okay.
Sure. All right, new business, letter B, consider approval of superintendent's salary for the 2021-2022 school year, which would honor the same steps and lanes as approved in the Salary Relations Committee. Total amount for the 2021-2022 school year would be $139,150.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Patrick. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Bullington. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the superintendent's salary in the amount of $139,150 for the 2021-2022 school year, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes.
Letter C, consider acceptance of certified staff resignation submitted by Lincoln Elementary teacher Adley Adele Riley and Torrington Middle School English teacher Bryce Hesby, effective May 21st, 2021.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Schmink. Is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Saucedo. Any discussion? All those in favor of accepting the resignation submitted by Lincoln Elementary teacher Adele Riley and Torrington Middle School English teacher Bryce Hesby, effective May 21st, 2021, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Are there any abstentions? The motion passes.
Letter D, consider approval of offering contracts for the 2021-2022 school year. The recommendation is that we approve offering contracts to the following as presented. Only 1 year only employment agreement to Jessica Martin as social worker at Torrington Middle School for the 2021-2022 school year. CARES. 1 year only contract to Sherry Schultz as an academic interventionist at Lincoln Elementary for the 2021-2022 school year. Again, a CARES contract. 1 year only contract to Holly Walter as an academic interventionist at Trell Elementary for the 2021-2022 school year. again, a CARES contract, a teaching contract to Cody Powell as an elementary teacher at Southeast Elementary School for the 2021-2022 school year. And an employment agreement to Gabe Bartlett as a Torrington High School Dean of Students and Activity Director for the 2021-2022 school year.
Can I have a motion, please?
I have a question, I guess, on this.
Well, we need to have a motion first, and then we'll get to your question.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Schmidt. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Any discussion? Mr. Cushman?
Was there a dean of students before, or is this like a new deal?
There was an assistant principal at Torrington High School, and then that was requested for savings on budget in relation to that to move to a dean of students position.
So he'll essentially basically be the.
There will, in a assistant principal position, the person will evaluate and have an evaluator approval ability. A dean of students is unable to evaluate other teachers.
I don't have a problem with any of these. What I do kind of have a problem with is announcing some of these things publicly before the board approves them. Because this is not just a formality. We still have a process we have to follow. So I hope that in the future, that some of the stuff doesn't get posted on Facebook prior to being presented to us.
Or in the newspaper. It was printed in the paper.
One of the quotes that usually is contained in those situations is pending board approval.
I realize.
And I would wholeheartedly agree with that.
And I looked for that verbiage,
And it did not.
and it was not in there.
That's correct.
So I guess I would just ask in the future that we respect the process and make sure that we're following our procedures here. Any other discussion? All those in favor of approval of offering contracts to, I'll read them all too. What's that?
As presented.
All those in favor of approving offering contracts as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes.
All right, letter E, consider approval of contracting with SHI for district Microsoft licensing renewal for the 2021-2022 school year. SHI is a WSCA Wyoming software vendor for the district Microsoft licensing. The total amount of the contract will be $26,016.00.
Can I have a motion, please?
So
Is there a second? Oh, thank you, Mr. Sato. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Patrick. Any discussion? What fund does this come out of? Normally that stuff gets listed, so I just.
Mr. Chair, that's general fund technology.
I thought so, I just didn't want to assume. Any other discussion? All those in favor of approval of contracting with SHI for district Microsoft licensing renewal for the 2021-2022 school year in the total amount of $26,016.00 from the general fund tech budget, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Are there any abstentions? The motion passes.
Letter F, consider approval of renewing district and building student intervention programs for the 2021-2022 school year as presented. Number one, learning A through Z, $10,320. Renaissance Learning, $28,629.07. Read 180, System 44, $3,450. Read Naturally, $2,990. Achieve $3,000, $7,063. Pearson / Ames Web, $5,980. Envision Math, $17,079.36. IXL Learning, $32,300.00. Learning Upgrade, $7,500. Zello, $5,778.70. IMSE, $120,430. Edmentum 6 through 12, $6,400. Edmentum K through 5, $9,000. PEBC, $24,000. Learning.com, $13,896. It's recommended that we approve the district intervention programs for the 2021-22 school year as listed in the total amount of $294,816.13.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Schmick. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hager. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Mr. Kramer.
If you would reference in light of the last topic, so you are aware of which fund those items are coming from. In page 70, 71, and 72 of your board packet, it does identify the federal funding source that those items are coming from, for your reference.
So those all vary, but it's all from federal funding.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor of approval of the intervention program renewals for the 2021-2022 school year as listed in the total amount of $294,816.13 funded through various federal funding programs, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Are there any abstentions? The motion passes.
Letter G, consider approval of special education contract with overtures for student residential services and day programming services for student number 4617 to provide residential treatment services from July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022, not to exceed $130,000, and for day programming services from July 1st through June 30th, 2022. July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022, not to exceed $46,000.
Can I have a motion, please?
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Schmick. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approval of the special education contracts with overtures for student 4617 to provide residential treatment services from July 1, 2021 through June 30, 2022, not to exceed $130,000. And for day programming services from July 1, 2021 through June 30, 2022, not to exceed $46,000. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Are there any abstentions? The motion passes.
Item H, consider acceptance of certified staff retirement agreement. The recommendation is to accept the retirement agreement submitted by Torrington High School art teacher Steve Law effective at the end of the 2020-2021 school year.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Bullington. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Mr. Cushman. As this is a personnel issue, I won't ask for discussion. All those in favor of accepting the retirement agreement submitted by Torrington High School art teacher Steve Law effective at the end of 2020 of the 2020-2021 school year, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes.
New business, letter I, consider approval of offering a teaching contract for the 2021-2022 school year to Mary Salland as a special education teacher at Torrington High School.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Schmick. There's a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Saucedo. Any discussion? Remind me, did we have a opening in that, like a resignation or a, so we're filling a?
That is correct.
All those in favor of approval of offering a teaching contract to Mary Saland as a special education teacher at Torrington High School for the 2021-2022 school year, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes.
New business, letter J, consider and approve the request from Heather Milligan to rescind her resignation as a Torrington Middle School teacher at the end of the 2020-2021 school year.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Saucedo. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Cushman. Is there any discussion on this item? All those in favor of approval of the request from Heather Milligan to rescind her resignation as Torrington Middle School teacher at the end of the 2020-2021 school year, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Are there any abstentions? The motion passes.
New business, letter K, consider and approve offering a one-year only teaching contract to Heather Milligan as an academic interventionist at Torrington Middle School for the 2021-2022 school year.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
I missed you. Thank you, Mr. Saucedo. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Schmick. Any discussion on this one? Okay, all those in favor of approval of offering a one-year only teaching contract to Heather Milligan as an academic interventionist at Torrington Middle School for the 2021-2022 school year, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Are there any abstentions? The motion passes.
New business, letter L, consider and approve granting the request from Wirelec Company for a right-of-way easement at the Southeast Schools property.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Patrick. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Cushman. Any discussion?
Is that only, it's really just a point of clarity, but is the property actually Southeast Schools property or is it Goshen County School District property? And does the motion need to be amended to reflect the appropriate ownership?
I think you're exactly correct. If you look at the easements, their title work does show it as Goshen County School District. And Mr. Chair, I can share with you, the building committee met and discussed this. What this request entails is the area just to the south of Southeast School was acquired by the Game and Fish Department. And they're wanting to put power to that property in order to operate a sprinkler. So the nearest power pole is right at the southeast corner of the school, which is where this easement request is coming into play.
Okay. Ms. Patrick, would you like to amend that?
I would very gratefully accept Trustee Miller's clarification and amendment.
Mr. Cushman for your second. Is that all? Okay. We'll just consider that a friendly amendment. Any other discussion? Okay. All those in favor of approval of granting the request from Wirelec Company for a right-of-way easement at the Goshen County School District property at Southeast Schools, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes.
Consider and Letter M, new business, consider and approve a 1-month extension to the current special education contract with Banner Health for occupational services to extend the contract through July 31st, 2021.
Can I have a motion, please?
So move.
Thank you, Ms. Bullington. Is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Saucedo. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, if I may, just for clarification, we have been contracted with Banner Health through the end of June. We currently have students in what's classified as extended school year services through the month of July. And so in keeping with their individual education plans and their services to stay consistent, that's why we're asking for this extension. In July, there is a process for occupational therapy and physical therapy services in regards to an RFP that you'll see in July. So just for your information relating to that extension and the reason for that such.
And that is still under the same contractual amount?
That is correct.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor of approval of a 1-month extension to the current special education contract with Banner Health for occupational therapy services to extend the contract through July 31st, 2021, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions?
Aye.
Motion passes 8 with Mr. Miller abstaining. 7, excuse me.
And letter N, under new business, consider approval of consider and approve contracting with Brooke Carson LLC for autism and behavior consulting services in the amount not to exceed $40,000 from July 1st, 2021 through June 30, 2022.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Patrick. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Bullington. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Gates?
for clarification purposes, that's funded out of 6B.
Thank you. All those in favor of approval of contracting with Brooke Carson LLC for autism and behavior consulting services in the amount not to exceed $40,000 from July 1st, 2021 through June 30, 2022, funded through 6B, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. That's it for new business. Item F, topics for discussion. I will yield the floor to our student representatives. With my apologies for the mix-up.
Good evening, everyone. All those in attendance tonight. Myself and my fellow student representatives from other schools were asked to discuss the registration process for our next school year classes, as all of us are seniors in this upcoming year. So I think it's important to understand the background of what exactly we're talking about, and it may be different for other schools, I'm not sure. But at Southeast, we register for classes. We use an app called Power School to register, and it keeps all of our data since we were a freshman to our senior year to what classes we have taken and the credits each class provides with it. And normally what happens is we go in as a class on a set day in the counselor's room and we sit down, and it's usually during the period of flex, and we register for classes normally in May or April. So one of the questions was what went well. I think it's important to know I was gone the day that they did this as a class. I had come in on my own time to register for classes. Granted, next year I'll be taking 4 college classes, so I had to register that on my own time. But for my other 4 classes, it was okay for the most part. I was able to see my past credits and the ones I would need to graduate. And credits per class, that was pretty easy to see with Power School. The only issue I had was it was kind of a mixed communication with me and the counselor and like to understand exactly which classes I needed to take in order to graduate or to meet my halfway requirements I would like to achieve individually. Granted, what I would like to see in the future is maybe have more handouts at the end of junior year for maybe like the halfway or other scholarships about classes you will need to take your senior year in order to achieve those. I know my biggest problem was I did not double up on a science class my junior year as compared to my peers, and trying to figure out a science class that would fit my needs for my future endeavors and more, and trying to decide if I was going to take up a college class at the college, if there's going to be 2 semesters or 1, or if I took a provided class at the high school. So in the future, I would prefer maybe to see it hand out a week or so in advance to have seniors, juniors, or really anybody in high school to understand what they are going to need in order to graduate or for the future endeavor plans. So that was what I prepared for you all tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Coxville. Mr. Fuller?
There's not a lot bad to say. I think it really went well, but really the only issue is for each separate person, sometimes classes don't fit into their personal schedules, but that is fixed, which is really done well with Zoom, and we can travel between all 3 schools. Like there's a couple kids that are taking a class from Southeast and one from Torrington, so you can also take classes from the college. But I think college classes aren't being pushed enough. There's really not very many people that are going into college classes and getting the required college classes done early enough. But the high school classes, we made sure we got all our credits in and the highest level of the halfway we can receive, but really the only issue is college classes not being pushed.
Thank you. Ms. Stokes?
Can everybody hear me? Okay. Yeah, okay. So at Huntington, our student body is split in half alphabetically. So one half goes to Ms. Talker and one half goes to Mrs. Johnson. And I'm just not influencing half of the alphabet, and she's new, so I've noticed with scheduling, sometimes she struggles a little bit, but that's to be expected because it's a different system she's used in the past. So we just go and see Ms. Talker and we get it fixed. I noticed a lot of seniors had trouble getting their schedule arranged. I had to go and be 1 or 2 times a day for 3 days in a row to end up getting my schedule sorted out because my college classes and high school classes didn't line up, and some of my high school classes I really wanted to take weren't fitting in, so we had to rearrange a lot. I liked that schedules are already done, sent out, so my parents can see it. We looked at it. My parents thought it was nice, and she made sure to contact us to see if we needed to change anything. My sister's a freshman this year, so it was nice to see that they were able to go into the high school and kind of see what the classrooms were like, and they came in almost in April maybe, and they got to walk around, and she was able to register for her classes and get that sorted out. One thing I also noticed was that with some of the teachers leaving that we have, like weights is harder to get now because having like one weights teacher, there's not a weights class every period, but that's to be expected. Other than that, everything's gone pretty smoothly and everything got sorted out.
Thank you. Are there any questions for our student reps? So, Mr. Fuller, you touched on this. So what you said was there's classes offered at, say, Southeast that you wouldn't fit in your schedule at Lingle. And so then transportation wise, you have to get yourself down there, or it's able to be accomplished through Zoom or?
Yeah, I think in the past they did have a bus that would take students to Torrington. I've never done a class in another school, sure, in person, but I think they did have transportation provided.
Okay. I just, all of a sudden struck me as, do we have kids driving between schools in the middle of the day? Just that, with a new driver, that in my house, it kind of scares me.
Mr. Chair, if I may just to clarify. There are some courses where there are still students coming in person because there are some auto courses that work into with student schedules, and then the transportation piece is then worked with the individual student and how we provide that transportation or how that transportation piece works.
Thank you. Anything else on that or any other topics that any trustee would like to bring up at this point? Okay. Item G, future meetings. Proposed for a special board meeting on Wednesday, June 30 for payment of final bills for 2020, 2021, and any other business to come before the board. We need to decide on a time. And we've typically done that at noon. Is that?
Mr. Chair, I can speak up.
Sure.
We've done noon, we've done an evening meeting. This is one that usually is not very long. We need to have final bills approved. There could be some amendments to the budget, but it's also very easy if necessary to do via Zoom as well.
Mr. Chairman, in this year, being that the July meeting is on the 13th, we will most likely have some contracts also, as we would like to get as many people under contract as soon as possible. So bills, and there will be, I can almost guarantee, some contracts.
Okay. So what is the preference for time? Would you rather meet over noon or come in more towards the evening? People's work schedule.
Does not matter to me.
I'd rather do it in the evening.
Evening works. Want to do it earlier in the evening, like 6 o'clock? 6 o'clock in the evening? Okay. And before we leave, I have some information on some exit interviews and some cards that the other trustees need to look at before we leave. I'll get those started down the line. And I apologize for not doing that sooner. The next regular board meeting will be Tuesday, July 13th at 2021 at 7 p.m. With that, I will turn it over to Mr. Kramer.
Well, with the update in staffing and district transfers changing on a daily basis as determined based on what actions were done today in regards to acceptance, I'm just going to really gloss over the interventionalist piece, and I'm just going to bring that up on a large screen just real quick. As you can see, with the number of openings for the interventionalist positions, we do have some of them filled, but still a number yet in process. They're either having done interviews, or they're scheduling interviews, or going through the process of finalization of hiring. Then the update on current school year student enrollment numbers. I actually am going to bypass the regular one and just go to the summer school. As in summer school, we have 39 students in middle school and 42 in the high school. And then I also will reference then on page 81, the data relating to drug testing. And I do just kind of want to point out, as you do some data manipulation and taking a look at, it is important to note that there are in those testing pieces, especially I cannot go back beyond 2018, 2019. But in reference to the percentages, they will be somewhat skewed, as in 2021, it shows 15 positive tests. In a negative situation, unfortunately, there are individuals who test positive multiple times due to being either within that window after the period, or unfortunately making a decision that would give them a positive case within that same year. So the accurate number which I utilized is actually in the 2021 school year, there were 10 individuals who tested positive. And then if you go back to 2019, 2020, 9 individuals tested positive in that year. And so that's kind of just some information to kind of allude to and reference when doing some comparisons. But that is in relation to all the data that I have to share for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer. No other business on the agenda. This meeting is adjourned.